Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. One of the other teams that we've talked about quite a bit here on the Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel over the last couple weeks, that is the Kentucky Wildcats. Kentucky's roster, I think, is a little bit closer to being done than I think they're a little bit closer to being done than Arkansas. They have what? Let me make sure I have this right. I believe they have 10 players. If you include the two, I think they have 9 actually. Let's see. They have the 2 freshmen. I guess they do have 8 transfers. Okay. And we're not going to go through all of them here, but Kentucky has 10 roster spots largely filled. And I think they're waiting on a couple other guys. Jackson Robinson, who we've talked about a million times. Chaz Lanier, who there's reports that he's on campus, but I also saw that he was at the NBA draft combine, so I don't really know what's totally going on. But there is one name that has popped up here over the last couple days, and I think it's a fascinating name for a fascinating reason, and I think it's a fascinating insight into how portal recruiting works at the highest level. Player's name, Ansley Almanor. 6'7" forward from Fairleigh Dickinson. This one isn't just a report. He is on campus right now here on Tuesday into Wednesday. And I wouldn't be stunned if we got the Cody Feger boom gif within the next 24 hours. It might happen by the time you listen to this. Again, I'm recording here about 6:49 Eastern time. So if this kid commits, if the video's already live, forgive me, but that's just the way it works. But Ansley Almanor from Fairleigh Dickinson, very fascinating story for a couple reasons. Okay. First of all, 6'7" forward. He was part of the team. Never forget, part of the team that, of course, beat Purdue in the NCAA tournament 2 years ago. So by the way, what do they say? That the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Well, me and Ansley Almanor, we're you know, he made Purdue look silly. Purdue fans are still on my butt 9 months later. So shout out to Ansley Almanor. Shout out to Fairleigh Dickinson. But in all seriousness, really good player, averaged 16 points per game this year. By the way, stuck around after Fairleigh Dickinson had that run in the tournament, that win over Purdue. Obviously, the coach left that offseason, but he ends up staying. Has a really good year this year, averages about 16 points per game, and really most importantly, shoots about 38% from 3. And so why that's interesting, doesn't that kind of fit the mold of what Kentucky appears to be looking for? I think they're looking for a little bit more offensive pop, probably off the bench. I think except for a Jackson Robinson, I don't think there's really a starting spot to be had on this roster. And so he kind of fits the mold of what they're looking for. What I think is especially interesting is how this recruitment has come together and what is going on behind the scenes in college basketball, okay? Because this kid, so first of all, he played at Fairleigh Dickinson, okay? And this is 0 disrespect. But Fairleigh Dickinson is essentially the lowest of low majors in college basketball. That's not a knock. It's just a reality. Small school, no money, probably no NIL. So he enters the portal and he's getting recruited by mid-majors, by schools that are like one level up from where he is. Siena, Pepperdine. I found it interesting. Did you see what came out earlier this week? Siena, the person who runs Siena's collective. By the way, do we know who Siena's head coach is? First-year head coach going into next year. Famous name if you're a college hoops fan. I'll give you a second. Siena's head coach, former Syracuse assistant, Syracuse legend, Jerry McNamara. Okay, so Jerry McNamara is the new head coach. He gets there. Part of the reason he takes the job, we believe, is he brought some money people with him from Syracuse to Siena. So the person who runs the collective at Siena does an interview with the local newspaper. That tells you everything you need to know about college hoops in 2024, okay? We have the person running a collective talking about recruiting to the local newspaper. Welcome to 2024, okay? But what he basically says is, look, every recruit we got on campus, we felt really good about, and we got everyone. I think GMAC was 7 for 7 or 8 for 8 in terms of recruits that came to campus and ended up committing. And so this guy's like, we were in really good shape. And then did you see what happened? Yeah, Kentucky got involved. And so now the guy who runs the collective at Siena basically acknowledges, look, we felt like we were in really good shape. We ain't beating out Kentucky. And so to me, this feels like it is going to be Kentucky. I think it's going to happen late Wednesday, early Thursday. If we do a Thursday night show, we'll probably be reacting to it. And what I think it says is something interesting to me about portal recruiting. And I've said this for years, but I truly believe portal recruiting is just so much different than regular high school basketball recruiting, right? Regular high school basketball recruiting it's a 2-3 month period. It's this, it's that, it's the other thing, it's whatever, okay? Portal recruiting is about putting together a roster on the fly. And why I think this particular commitment is interesting is for the following reason. It's because I believe the high major programs who do the portal at the highest level, at the best level, you go get your star players early. Whoever they are at whatever position they are, you lock them up as early as you can. If it's an AJ Storr, Jeremy Roach, most of those guys didn't have super prolonged commitments. They go, they see the spot, the school offers them a bunch of money, they commit on the spot, okay? But what I find interesting, and this is where it gets interesting, there's always going to be guys at this time on the calendar that if you're a Kentucky, a UConn, a Baylor, a Kansas, you can find guys to fill out the back half of your roster. I've said this for years, but everyone freaks out when they don't have this or that or whatever. And it's April 30th, May 1st, May 10th. And I say there's always guys that want to play at the highest level. Give you an example. UConn is coming off back-to-back national championships, okay? 2 years ago, they win the championship, the fifth one in school history, 2023. That was with Sonogo, Jordan Hawkins, whatever. But one of their key players was a guy named Joey Calcaterra. Joey Calcaterra, Dan Hurley called him Joey California, was a fifth-year guy, played at the University of San Diego, was like their third leading scorer, enters the portal, and he's getting recruited by whoever. And basically, I know the guy that set him up with UConn. And UConn was like, we don't know if we have a spot for you. And you might be like our 10th or 11th guy. And the kid comes in and says, I just want an opportunity. I'm going to come in, compete, play hard, whatever. And he ends up being a crucial part of that UConn national championship team. But he didn't end up committing and signing to UConn until essentially like June or July of that year. And so I think when we're talking about a Kentucky trying to fill out its roster, Louisville still has a few scholarships available. UConn in theory could have an extra one if Alex Caravan ends up staying in the draft. Arkansas is going to have some. You have to get the stars early, but you can always find back of the end bench guys late. And I think this guy would be the perfect 9th, 10th guy for Kentucky. Come in, not going to be a star, fourth-year guy, as long as he understands the role, comes in, plays 10, 12 minutes a game, gets you 6, 7, 8 points, can play significant minutes if somebody gets in foul trouble or somebody's whatever. But I love what Mark Pope is doing here. He's got the core of his guys set. And he's probably telling this kid right now, look, I can't promise you 28 minutes a game, but you can come. You can be part of what Kentucky describes as the greatest tradition in college basketball. You can be part of a team that plays on the biggest stages in the SEC, nationally. We just found out the Gonzaga game is a go for this coming year with Kentucky Gonzaga. Play Gonzaga. You play Duke. You play Arkansas at home in what will be the biggest game of the year. Kentucky guy, you will always be able to find guys like this if you're Kentucky, and I find it very interesting.